I'd like to start by having you talk a little about the switch from free-to-play to paid and how that impacts the game people ultimately be playing.
Well, we were considering going with free-to-play for a long time, and when we really were building the title, we kind of felt like the tail was wagging the dog in regards to monetization. You know, we're sitting here going, well, then we have to do hero rotation type stuff, and it was like, really? I mean, why not just let you have all of the main roles in the game and play as them, and then we'll, let's go with kind of a medium type of price, something maybe $20, $30, $40-ish, and then, let's consider maybe a, key crate system or something like that, much like a Counter-Strike Go, and then just keep everything kind of cosmetic, which is really kind of the direction we're going in. And I think, there's a lot of games that have come out recently that are $60 for a multiplayer game that's just, a game similar to this, and I think, that price point's a little too steep. I think gamers can smell that a million miles away.
And microtransactions still will be a part, but it would be more aesthetics.
Yeah, it'll be much more just, visual character skins, weapon skins, things like that. You want the flaming shotgun, then that's what you actually put your money towards if you want it.
When it comes to being able to see people play this game, you've had influencers out here, you've had PAX people, you'll have more PAX people. What are your thoughts when you watch the type of reaction people are having?
The thing about this game with LawBreakers is that we've made a game that's inherently watchable. And to the point where we have playtests in the lab, and people just meander by who are going to the kitchen to get, a glass of water or some coffee, and they'll stop and just watch the entire match. And then, the matches end with such drama that almost every day I hear people hooting and hollering. Like, just earlier, the press playing the game, they're screaming and everything. I think our neighbors in our office here are going to be a little bit upset with the noise levels. But that's, the goal, like in a 2016 type of game, to create something that yields animated GIFs or GIFs, however you want to pronounce it, or YouTube videos or Twitch streams, So make something that's infinitely watchable, and hopefully you'll profit.
And speaking of watchable, I mean, we live in an esports era today. What was there that in the back of your mind at all, thinking about whether it's 5-on-5 or the types of moments you were just talking about?
Yeah, so basically esports are all the rage, of course, and it's one of those things like, video games being played as a sport used to be seen as a joke. And everything that, winds up becoming big sometimes starts as a joke. Like, the snowboarders weren't taken seriously by the skiers. It was seen as some kid punk thing. Skateboarding wasn't taken serious until Tony Hawk. So many of these sports became mainstream because somebody became an evangelist for it and proved that it was really cool. And you're seeing the same thing with esports right now. Will this game be an esport? I have no idea. I would love for nothing more than that to happen, but you have to do it organically. You have to start with kind of a grassroots, kind of small campaign and build up to people actually playing the game for a ton of money, and then get financial support. Once you have people watching your game, you have impressions, that leads to ads, that's what leads to money and an actual real esport.
Yeah, I know I've seen you at different esports events. I mean, what are your thoughts about the fact that gaming is now a real sport? People are making millions of dollars, kids playing PC games.
I think it's awesome, and I think more power to them. And I wish it had been around when I was that age, so I could have made that kind of money back then as well. I think it's one of those things, dude. People watch poker. I don't even like poker, but people will still watch it. There's the amount of things. Never underestimate like people watching ping pong tournaments. It's like as long as it has a gaming element and people think it's interesting, it has the chance to be a real sport. And as long as people are getting paid for it, more power to them.
Yeah, we've seen PC especially excel. CSGO has just blown up over the last few years as an esport. What does the PC platform open up from that perspective?
The PC platform for us, when you have a game that's optimized for keyboard and mouse and online play, you can really have amazing plays that shine. I'm not trying to knock consoles for this, but for some reason when you make a game that's paced as ours is, with the fast pacing and the grappling hook, the dodge, the gravity changing, the iron sights and everything, you can really whip around the map and pull off some amazing, impressive moves and kind of contribute to making something that's infinitely watchable and potentially an esport down the line.
The other thing that stands out when I play and watch people play this game is a lot of female characters. Esports right now is very much dominated by male players. What hope is there for attracting more of a female and even more diverse audience to this type of game because of those characters?
Yeah, I mean, my goal with this game is to basically represent as many demographics as humanly possible in the game, because I want everybody to play this game and see a character that's aspirational in it. Our cast is actually 50-50 female, and it's not just white dudes, it's just a variety of actual cool characters that people want to play as. And we depict the characters as badasses first and foremost, that then happen to be, for example, female. And that's kind of been the MO from the start.
Can you talk a little about do you have a favorite character, a favorite weapon?
When it comes to actual characters in the fiction, I love Hellion because she's just this kind of, she lost both her legs in an improvised explosive device. She served, and she is still having fun and messing things up. And the robo legs just look so awesome when you kick people in the face with them. When it comes to the other characters I think I like Kronos because I'm a rocket guy. I'm not that good at aiming anymore, so being a little bit older. And so if I can blow those rockets up midair and take people out, I'll do that as well.
The other thing people don't normally think about when they think about esports and necessarily shooters is really rich stories. Can you talk about that element? Because you guys do have a really rich background going on here.
Yeah, I mean, since we're not having a traditional campaign to kind of explain what the universe is, we have to go twice as hard on putting environmental storytelling. So, seeing that Palaxis is the company that's making these rejuvenation stations that you heal up in the game, to see, eventually when we get around to showing our Santa Monica map, you'll see what could ATMs look like in the future if they even exist? Have you gone all full digital with everything? Is there audio that we can have that kind of tells the story of the train station's open and available? What things can we tell to kind of use to sell the IP kind of outside of the game, and hopefully get a publisher that helps us render ridiculously awesome CG movies, much like the fantastic folks at Blizzard are doing.
Yeah, and the other thing, the national parks is very interesting. I mean, Grand Canyon here, you mentioned Mount Rushmore. What's it like being able to go and reimagine those kinds of things?
Well, for me, since the game had this massive earthquake that destroyed everything and everyone managed to rebuild and the parks were all sold off, it's like these are locations that I refer to as the places your grandparents would go to in their RV that you'd be bored off your pants as a kid. And so if I can take those and make them interesting and exciting, well, they already are interesting. The Grand Canyon's interesting, but, sci-fi them up, have gravity anomalies, and have people swinging and fighting each other in it, I think, it's a setting I haven't seen a lot in games.
The other thing that stood out when I was playing is lots of really funny quips that the characters are always saying when you get killed. Can you talk about humor and what role that plays within this game?
Yeah, well, I mean, you can't be serious all the time, and although we are going to be an M-ish type of rated game, considering, you actually do jib people, there's blood flying off them and everything like that, it's important to have a little bit of levity in the game. So, one of my favorite lines from Kintaro is he says something like, "What's your net worth, $2 grand?" Like fun little lines like that, and that's another way to learn about the fiction. The various cast of characters we have in this, they come from all different backgrounds and they have different attitudes depending on what's going on in the game. It's pretty important in a multiplayer shooter.
And speaking of different backgrounds, when I look around at your studio, it's very, very young, but you have a diverse group of people making this game. Can you talk about that and how that influences what you guys are actually making, the characters you're making?
Well, it's one of those things. I'm a big believer in diversity because I think it makes brings a lot of perspectives into the studio. We have Anthony's at the studio. He came out of the south side of Chicago, and he came in as an intern, and he just did so well, and now he's got a full-time job. And it's one of those things if we're depicting characters of all different backgrounds, people can be like, hey, that line, if you have a DEA guy, you may not want to have him too excited about shooting other people in the climate of 2016. These are the things you have to think about now because people will use it against you, and you have to be really smart about it. And at the end of the day, if I didn't like diversity, which I do, I want everybody to feel represented in this game. I want everybody to have a chance to spend money on this product and enjoy it along with everybody else.
You guys are bringing this to PAX East. What role do these types of hands-on play and as you guys evolve this game?
Yeah, well, I mean, when we get hands-on with the press, it's really important to see they can actually pick up the game and learn it, because we were concerned we have a steep learning curve. It is a decent learning curve, but once people get 5 to 10 minutes with each character, they pick up on the nuances of what their abilities are, how they move, how they traverse throughout the environment. And so bringing it to PAX East is kind of a full circle thing for me to actually see gamers for the first time ever hands-on the show floor, and I think it's going to be a pretty amazing thing considering I'm originally from Boston.